Kila kasliut silahwa. Nukum hilsamas keotlach Nakwaxda'xw. My name is Tom Henderson. I come from the lands of the Nakwaxda'xw people. I grew up in all of the lands in Seymour and Blunden, Harbour, deserters, and places where we went to. We chased the seasons for the food we needed, whether it was summer, winter, spring, fall. And this is one of the things that we learned at the beginning. We had to chase the season. We couldn't stay in one spot when we're chasing fish or trapping. We have to go north. In the lands of our ancestors, we learned all of this from our parents, our grandparents, aunts and uncles. And I've had the honor and privilege of learning all of this growing up. I had so much interaction with all our relations from Blunden Harbour, the Nakwaxda'xw people, and the Gwasaw, mind you. So that's our house. And kids walking over to our grannies to help with spreading the seaweed to a sun-dry. So when you look at the elders of a community, kaka, adulta, at their age you can see they're elderly, but living healthy in our homelands. Even at their age they were really strong and can do things. They're living off the lands. Food that we all ate made us healthy. And today we go to the store and we buy unhealthy foods. So in our homelands we lived off the land, so we didn't go to the store to buy anything that we needed for our table. And this is preparation of the seaweed. They dry it in square pieces, and that way they can stack it in boxes at a later date when it's all dry. So this is our, again, kaka and adulta going down the beach, clam dig with their kids. And I can't remember, I don't know the kids that were with them going clam digging. And like I say, they're really elderly. They're in their 80s and still strong. And when I used to go down the beach with kaka, I used to offer to pack her basket full of clams. She would say, "Oh no, I can do it." Our elders spoke our language. And so I'm really fortunate. I learned our language, I grew up with our language, and I never lost it, even though I was in residential school for 8 years. And that's being with our elders in our community. And there wasn't many that spoke English, or they wouldn't allow us to speak English after we came out of school. Now, speak our language, you're not white, they would say. So that was something we learned. And our parents, my parents, especially Kenneth and my mom didn't speak English. My dad did. He was in residential school. And when we came out of St. Mike's and were in our houses, they wouldn't allow us to speak English. If you're going to speak English, you go outside and speak the white language, not in here. So that's one of the reasons why a lot of us were able to hang on to our language. We could remember it and keep it in our hearts and our minds. The teachings are so important from our elders. That's the learning, and we hang on to that, value it, and treasure it. And when elders have gatherings, our youth should be there to listen to their legends, their stories about homelands and what they did. And you can see the elders, they work hard. No matter what it was, they worked. They didn't wait for somebody to come and dig clams for them or supply food for their tables. It wasn't until they were unable to go and do these things that our kids would go and help, go clam digging for them and pack water for them, whatever it was they needed, and cut wood for them. So we learned at a young age to do these things without pay. Today we have to pay kids to come help us. And this, you could see working on clams. It's still hot, and look at them. Just the water's still steaming. The clams, you can imagine how hot it is, and yet they're doing it with. So that's working all their lives. Their hands are so strong and almost like leather, so that we don't feel the heat. There's Mr. Hall, Chief Charlie George cutting wood. There's my dad making a toy boat for me out of wood. And he's carving it with a chulkwatla bent knife, they call it. So that he was a really good carver. He made canoes and dugouts and all kinds of things. And the kids playing in the big house. So you see how gifted he is and how long it didn't take him long to make that toy boat for me. I go play down the beach with it. And it was a lot of our pastime, kids playing down the beach with a toy boat. So my dad named lots on him. His mama name's Kenneth Henderson. And he's already finished the toy boat, tie it on a stick, and go play it in the water with it. He's given it to me, and that's me in a sailor suit playing with my new boat. So lots of fun times with the kids. There's a family watching all of this, enjoying it. And the kids come ashore with the crabs that my grandfather had speared. And he watched my sister, I'm not sure which one it is. And there's Jimmy Weber walking with his wife, Emma, and one of her kids. Annie Jack, and I don't know, she's a little girl. But when I say close-knit, we all knew each other by our Indian names. All of our nations get boats from fishing companies. This is one of his I got from Good Hope. And they're going out fishing for steelhead. They're running through that pass. And it's Alfred Charlie, we call him Oomp. And Nakwaxda'xw, he's a really tough guy. And no matter what he did, he'd be helping, and they're out there fishing for steelhead. And old days, that's kind of caught on our nets and pulled by hand. You know, the boat didn't have a drum, but they were tough, they can pull. And a lot of these times, no matter what they caught, it was food for a table. That'll be plucked and make duck soup with it. So nothing went to waste. These two were really good suppliers for our community. They built hunting, fishing, and Oomp used to always go hunting seals and bring it in and supply the community with it, Miigwet. And my dad, Kenneth. These kind of things I learned, and after a period of time I'd be able to go out and do that, learning from our ancestors. And in turn I'd be teaching youth how to go out there food fishing and where to go food fishing and when to go food fishing. You can't just go out any time and do that. There's certain times of the season. That's why I say we chase the seasons. So these steelhead would be coming through a little pass and heading into Bradley Lagoon. You see how they pump their boat with an old style pump. And the lady, her name, we knew her only as Mintla. She's the wife of Chief Charlie George. And I don't know why they called him Mr. Hall. It's him there with a plane. So they were hard-working people also. And like I say, I don't know who the kids were. Might have been Dinah, the girl. Mr. Hall and his happy times. Yeah. And when it's time to eat, everybody was at the table. And if you weren't there, you didn't eat. And you ate whatever was served. So these things we still do. If you don't like what's been cooked, then you don't eat. So they were still alive when we moved here. These two, she ended up in a wheelchair in Mintla. I think that's Dinah. And that's making Nakwaxda'xw. That things that we had in those days were so filling and healthy. Nowadays you go to the store and buy bread. I'm not sure who the boy is that's sleeping. The big houses started to fall apart, and it's something that just happened over the course of time. There was no more upkeep of them. There's babies that put in their trees, make boxes for them and put them up in their tree. Reason for that, the babies are higher up to a crater. That's where they're going. So, and then the animals don't get at them. Animals digging around. There's kids playing in the big house. And this was a good meeting place for our ancestors. There's Ernest Jack and his wife Annie Jack. And the Paul boys were left without parents, Ernest Paul and Annie Jack. We still knew her as There's my grandfather, Chief Thomas, woolly seaweed, spearing crabs. And he always did that. He was out there constantly doing it. It wasn't just pastime, food for the table and share with the elders in the community. Nowadays you don't go and get crabs in that fashion. You use crab traps. But I still go spear. Me and my kid brother love doing that. So it's one of my sisters. Anything that happened in the community, all kids would be doing those things. There's my grandfather carving. He's got a kanjayu on it. He's going to make a frontal piece for his headdress. He was a master carver, my grandfather. And I was given to him by my mom when I was 5 years old, so he raised me. Mr. Hall, my grandfather, and Chief Johnny Nolly, and the others before them that were master carvers. And we have some now in our community that are doing that carving and doing their own designs. And that's good. There's an original. It's not copied. And that's how it should be. My grandfather was constantly carving and painting and doing things. and he'd prepare for potlatches that he had. In many potlatches he'd have. So I was one of the real fortunate ones, raised by my grandfather. And all his teachings I still carry today, to honor and love for people and sharing knowledge. It's one of his potlatches. And at his potlatch, he would be the MC. He wouldn't ask anybody to come and MC for him. He MC'd himself. It was his potlatch. And his potlatches were the Nakwaxda'xw potlatches. We didn't take songs and dances from other communities, other nations. All of his were songs that he composed, and dances, ladies' dances, men's dances. All of these things belong to him, and it's his treasure box, and I carry that today. So those things are important to know, or your identity as a people, and the learning you'll gain from all of these things going on now today. The teachings of our elders and ancestors that taught them, and in turn you learn this, you'll start teaching your children, and they'll teach their children. So these things we were so blessed and honored and privileged to learn. And there's a sun mask, and my Uncle Joe Seaweed, he was one of the great dancers. All his dances he performed were his and his dad's, my grandfather's son, Chief Joe Seaweed. There's Alfred. Oh, there's I think it's all mask. So all of these dances that he danced belonged to the Nakwaxda'xw. And there's Kaka, a proud, noble, strong woman. And I never knew her English name. I just knew her as Kaka growing up. And she was a really healthy, strong lady, high-ranking. There's Chief Joe Seaweed. And his dances are just amazing to watch. We have family members here dancing those dances, and our singers singing the Nakwaxda'xw songs. And I'm proud of our Tlaxcalan singers. There's the Bukus. So all of these dances that belong to Nakwaxda'xw, and the style, the manner in which they dance belonged to the Nakwaxda'xw. It wasn't copied from other nations. So we were blessed with all of this teachings from ancestors. What belongs to us remains with us. And a lot of the things that I learned from my grandfather I still hold today, a treasure, all the things that I was taught by him. So our big house falling apart, and no longer used for potlatches and housing our people. And that was the last big house that was standing when we got moved. Portions of it were still up. And then somebody went and took the house poles. And there's his headdress. And you can see some of the things that were in that big house that were really treasured and no longer there. That was the meeting place of our ancestors who, in the float, all these things now gone. Now going to rebuild and go back home. That's a dream of our nation. And at some of our meetings, the youth were so excited about our rebuilding there. And are they allowed to move? Oh yeah, anybody that wants to go home, we'll be honored to have them go home with us. kielekesla. Kielekesla juhtavla. Aga ich nakke kähkin jakantaa kaiken nämä kielekesla. Juuri nämä kielekesla.